Welcome back, everyone, to Unarmored Talk Podcast. I am your host, Mario P. Fields, and today's amazing guest, who's a week, willing to remove her armor to help other people gain a better understanding of how not to emotionally react in life to things, but how to think and respond to improve the outcome. Natasha Durkins, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Mario. Thank you. How are you?
I am still motivated and smiling as we talked before the show. But everyone, before we get to this amazing guest, and before I officially introduce her again, thank you guys. If you want to connect to all my crazy social media, go on Parade Deck. That's paradedeck.com. You can check me out on TikTok, Instagram, your mamagram, your daddygram. You guys know the deal. All of that stuff. And check out some of the fun stuff out there as we create content to make a positive impact on people in the world. And thank you to our channel members. Again, every month, your contributions are making a difference for Still Serving Incorporated. And that's you guys want to learn more. Again, you want to join us in making a difference for the youth, shaping our future for tomorrow. Go to www.stillservinginc.com. Find one of the program buckets, if you will, that you want to donate $1 or $2 and get behind us and support so we can make a difference around the world with today's developing in a positive way, today's youth. So I'm done with that. You guys know the deal. Done with all that admin stuff. So today we have, Natasha Durkins. She goes by Tash. She's the Vice President of Mission Support at the Federal Aviation Administration. She's a public speaker and she's a recent author, everyone, of a book, and it's called Fiercely Joyful. Fiercely Joyful. Tash, welcome to the show. Please tell the listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you having me on, Mario. It's an honor. And Fiercely Joyful. I'm so excited about that book that's coming out soon. Because I'm joyful. But I'll tell you, I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Born and raised there, but I've spent now most of my life in the DMV. Living in all three places, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So this is home for me now. I consider myself a champion of authenticity. I derive a lot of passion from helping people show up as themselves and find the space and power to bring joy into their lives. That's a little bit about me.
Cool. The entire Fields family roughly is from Pennsylvania, by the way.
Oh, really? I didn't even know. Okay, awesome.
Yeah. All the Fields. You go to Pennsylvania, that's where you find the hallmark of all the Fields family. Pennsylvania.
Cheesesteak, not steak and cheese.
No, right. Well, you were already a fan. I mean, I was already a fan of yours, but now the stock just went up. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you. Same for you.
Increase my investment in Tash stocks. Well, let's talk about it. You chose to write this book called Fiercely Joyful. When we see you, Vice VP, Mission Support for about 6 months now, and some other things you've accomplished in your life. My mom raised me well, so you're about 25, right? 25.
Right.
And
in the 20s.
In the 20s, we good. We good. And I just hit 30. But fiercely joyful. From my basic understanding, there was a moment in your life where you were probably fiercely miserable. Let's jump into the topic.
Absolutely. Yes, there was. That was a period of my life when I was in my early 20s. So just a few years ago. Just kidding, y'all. 20-some years ago.
Yeah.
And I was young and dealing with a lot of depression, actually, at the time, and loneliness, because it wasn't long after my mother had passed away.
Mm.
And I had a boyfriend I moved in with, and was living in his apartment, and it was really a tumultuous relationship from the start. But once we moved in together, it got to be much worse, and it became an abusive relationship. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It became abusive, and I stayed longer than I should have because I felt like I had nowhere to go. and I was alone. I had no money. And I just felt like I had no choice. So I stayed.
And Tash, when you say abusive, if you don't mind, what do you mean by it was an abusive, physically, verbally, both?
It was both. It was
Mm.
both physically abusive and verbally, emotionally. The one of the worst physical abuses I recall was my head being slammed on the stove.
Wow.
Thank God it wasn't hot, but it was slammed on the stove, and I had a bruise of the burner on my face, for days. Um,
Wow.
so it was a very difficult relationship. And it
You,
was just for that time where I just thought I had to deal with it.
it's interesting you say that because I've heard and I know of people who have been or are currently in relationships that they feel and they believe they just have to deal with it with that. For you, what was it that made you just believe that you just have to deal with this verbal and physical abuse?
I have to tell you, it actually goes back to other abuse I dealt with in my life as a child. I was molested by my
Mm.
grandfather and a babysitter. And I never told anybody until I was, literally in my late 20s. So even that I didn't talk about that until after I was in this abusive relationship. But I just remember feeling two things. One, when I was molested, that it was my fault, that I brought it upon myself. And two, that if I told anyone, people wouldn't believe me or they would be upset and angry at me and I would get in trouble.
Mm.
And so I didn't want that. And I carry that with me in this relationship because I felt like I must have been doing something to bring it on myself. Why you wouldn't just do this, right? I had to be provoking it. And I also felt embarrassed and didn't want to tell people that that was happening in my home.
Wow. So you essentially, because of things that happened in your childhood, you essentially started to believe, you know what, there's something about me I'm doing to provoke this abuse. So you essentially started self-reflecting on yourself on how to reduce these behaviors. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. And I didn't tell my friends for quite some time. And when I finally started talking to them, because at some point they could see the bruises, um, they were like, well, why didn't you tell us? You need to get out of there. You need to, and I made excuses. I made excuses for him. Well, I don't think it won't happen again. He had a hard day at work, whatever the excuse was. And Mario, I should have known better because my mother volunteered at a domestic violence shelter for women. She got up in the middle of the night, helped women who had been raped, beaten, and needed support. And she did this for years. She was in the newspaper and Scranton Times, they were celebrating her for her work.
Wow.
I knew better, and I don't think I ever expected to find myself there, but when it happened, I couldn't easily pull myself out.
Yeah, it's always interesting when folks, when I can only speak for me, but when you're on the outside looking in, it's easier to give advice. And then when it's you, like you said, it's a whole different ball game. At what point did you ever get to a point, Tash, where you said, "No, this is not my fault. I don't deserve this physical. I don't deserve to have my head slammed on a stove, and talked like I am not a human being. I'm leaving this relationship." Did you ever get to that point, or what happened?
I did eventually. I started making some plans in my head, and it was the impetus of it was I learned he was cheating on me. So, here I am, a punching bag, And he's out doing his thing in the middle of the night. I end up getting a phone call from a woman.
Right.
And that was the moment when I was like, I can't, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm sacrificing myself, my worth, allowing this man to take advantage of me physically, and he's not even being faithful in our relationship. Why am I here?
Right.
And so at that point, I started thinking in my mind, and I had no idea how I was going to do it because I was broke. But I said, I got to get up out of here. I have to
Yeah.
figure out how to get out of this relationship.
Yeah, so here you are going, okay, let me check my bank account. All right, -$10. All right, that's a good start. Uh,
Mhm.
but in all seriousness, so you started to kind of design a plan and to leave this relationship. And then how did you eventually have a plan and do it, or did you get some help?
Praise the Lord, I got some help. And this is why I would say to people, don't think you're alone. There's always someone in your corner willing to help. And I had kicked all my friends to the curb because of the guy. I was doing that. I don't have time for you, focused fully on him. So I wasn't spending time, wasn't returning phone calls in a timely manner, wasn't hanging out with the girls. But once I had that revelation about him cheating, and I knew I couldn't leave on my own, I just picked up the phone and asked for some ideas. I said, y'all, can you tell me, you know, is there a shelter? Is there somewhere I can go? I need to get out of here. I can't take it anymore. And I called my girlfriends who were at Howard and some who were down the street in DC. And they were like, when do you want to leave? I was like, I need to go as soon as possible, but I don't have any money. Don't worry about it. We'll be there tonight. What time you go to work? What? Tonight? I was, and then all of a sudden I was like, should I do this? Oh my God, I don't know. What will I do?
Hey, your girlfriends are like special operations.
I'm
You're a
telling you,
military guy. They're coming in cammied up with night vision goggles to get you.
one of them getting ready to retire from the Army right now. But they did, I mean, literally, because they didn't have a car. They came up in a taxi cab. I had the taxi
Wow.
cab driver
Wait,
sitting outside.
wait a minute. Wait a minute. They didn't even have vehicles, but they improv. Wow.
Okay, that's when you have a true friend and true friends and people that love you um
Mm.
unconditionally, because they could have been like, oh, now you want to call Tash, now that you in trouble, you want to call. I didn't hear none of that.
Right.
None of that. They were like, okay, we're coming tonight. Here's the plan. Do this, do that. And they literally scooped me out in the middle of the night while he was at work.
So, so, so it had that is amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, that's why I love doing this because I learn about the guests on the show, and so that is amazing. So now they yellow taxi cab. We'll just go with yellow cab, but they you know they get the taxi cab. They get you out of there. At any point, once you got away from that abusive relationship, at any point did he try to reach back out to you to make it seem like things would change?
Absolutely.
Mm,
Right away. As soon as he saw the empty closet and dresser, he realized it was for real. And he did. Oh, I'll never do it again. I'm sorry. I need you. And I'm not gonna lie and say I didn't think about it, because as I'm talking to you now, I think this is the first time I ever said it, but technically I was homeless. I was homeless and I was living in various dorm rooms with my girlfriends while I was trying to get back on my feet. Thank God for them, because I had nowhere to go. Um, but I realized then I was worth more than that. And so I was gonna have to figure it out, go from room to room, whatever. I was making people Rice Krispie treats and selling them. because I was hungry. I was like, I can cook if you let me have some, you know, did
I'm
everything.
glad we can laugh at this, but oh my goodness.
It was rough. I was literally homeless. I've never said that, but I
Mm.
really was. And I'm just so fortunate that I had that support system around me, because I think if I was alone, I might have went back, Mario. I might have went back. My friends
And
weren't having that.
and that's why I asked that question, because I believe that the listeners and viewers who listen and share this with anyone that's going through something like this, to make the choice not to let the manipulation
Mhm.
uh you know make them emotionally make a decision to go back into that environment, where it just continues.
Mhm.
And it's just, and to hear how you made the decision with the support of your friends, to not allow your emotions and not allow that manipulation from him, pull you back. And then to go from homeless to making Rice Krispies. And I like the strategy. Look, I can make some Rice Krispies, and also let me test them and taste them.
Folk can't cook, folk cannot cook, especially the fellas, so can't cook, can't bake. So I did. I said, hey, I will cook for you. I'll even go to the grocery store and get the groceries. You got to buy them. But I do get a plate, and I was
That's
a pretty decent cook, so that is how I fed myself. That and McDonald's hamburgers at the time, which luckily I don't have to eat those every day anymore. I don't eat meat anymore, but that was McDonald's hamburgers and other people's food.
and now look at you, never giving up. Now you're vice president, at the FAA for mission support. You're an author, public speaker, executive leader, and more. I mean, and you have a wonderful brother, by the way. I love your brother, Ellis Craig. I had to give
I
him a shout.
do.
Oh,
He's
I
the
love you.
bomb.
Oh my gosh. So looking back, Tash, looking back, if you had to give one piece of advice to anyone that's currently in a relationship like this, or in the future, like some folks don't even know they're going to be in one. Like you said, they don't see it coming. What piece of advice would you give them?
My advice would be to recognize and acknowledge what situation you're in and know that you can get help. So that means admit to yourself what you're in, because that's the first piece of not making excuses for the person or people or whatever. Acknowledge that and know you can get help. And whether it's family, whether it's friends, if you're embarrassed, you don't want to talk, there are shelters that are available to men and women who are abused, and they will set you up. Even if you have kids, you can take your kids. They will take full care of you and help you get on your feet. And you're worth it. You're worth it.
Yeah, amen. And it's just again interesting how your mother's doing amazing things in Scranton, Pennsylvania. She's in the paper. You're witnessing the resources. You're witnessing the journeys of battered women and men, if you will. And then here you are, and you don't even know what to do. And I applaud you for removing your armor, and thank you for having the courage to come on and talk about that. Thank you for that wonderful advice, Tash. And we're looking so forward to, hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't buy the book Fiercely Joyful, shame on you.
Fiercely Joyful is coming out in September. And I want to say, I just want folks to know that that support system is so important to me that I've donated my proceeds, or I am donating. The check is in the mail. Proceeds to the Women's Resource Center of Northeastern Pennsylvania, where my mother volunteered all those years ago, because
That is
people need
cool.
support.
Yeah, no, thank you for giving back. And how can people find you if they want to connect with you?
You can go to my website, which is www.fiercely-joyful.com, or you can find me on any of the socials at Only Tash.
You guys heard it. Also, they'll be in the show notes. And if you're listening, they'll be in the show notes on audio as well. Well, I know you are, I won't say busy. You guys always know that. The guests I bring on, they're having fun in what they're doing these days. So I will let you get back to inspiring the world and motivating everyone in the FAA. And so thank you so much. Please be safe. And thank you just for taking the time to be on the show, Tash.
Thank you so much, Mario. So it's an honor and a pleasure. I appreciate it.
No worries. Well, hey, everyone, you guys know the deal. 2 episodes a month. So you guys are here, you guys, or you'll be hearing me in about 2 weeks. But until then, you guys know the deal. Be safe and God bless you. We will see or hear from me soon.